Hello, listener. This is Ben, host of Comic Book Breakdown. This episode features myself and my friend Efrain reacting to and breaking down the new trailer for Godzilla V Kong that just came out. It also features me testing out some new audio equipment, so if it sounds a bit rough compared to one of my normal episodes, I apologize. Every experiment leads to new knowledge, and each piece of knowledge makes the overall breakdown experience that much better. I'll have timestamps down below in the description to denote when we make a major shift in topic, and I hope you enjoy. Godzilla vs. Kong. I have loved the memes that have been coming out of this, and how so far I feel like they've been pro-Godzilla.
Memes? Have I seen memes yet?
I shared one on Facebook where it was
When?
The other day, probably like 2 days ago. And it's someone being like, Godzilla, literally a radioactive fire-breathing lizard.
Oh, yeah.
Godzilla, and then it's a picture of Frieza, and he just goes, wretched monkey. And I'm like, yes! Right. And I shared one, I think today, it might have been yesterday, of, the line was like, when someone comes up to me talking about how Kong's the hero of the movie, and then it's Megatron from Transformers the movie, and he says, what heroic nonsense. And I was just like, oh, this is perfect!
Such heroic nonsense.
I was like, that's great.
We need
Fuck
Kong. Yeah. Fucking... I was watching something, I think it was on comicbook.com, and they were talking about the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer, and they were talking about Alexander Skarsgård, and they said something like, the scene when Tarzan goes up to Kong, I mean Alexander Skarsgård, I'm like, ha ha ha, very nice, very nice. Yeah, so that little reference to Tarzan there with the apes. But, man, in the trailer, it seems like I'm seeing Kong with a lot of offense.
Well,
the only part is, and I think it's a really cool part, is when Kong is roaring at the ocean, to Godzilla. All of a sudden, basically, Godzilla comes up and uppercuts the fucking battleship that he's on. Yeah. That part was awesome.
Well, and that's it. It definitely, at the moment, and I feel like the trailer is definitely one of those things where it's like, here's like 5 minutes of the movie, guys. Yeah. And that's all this is. Like, I don't even think we got the tip of the iceberg on this one.
2.5 minutes.
Yeah. It definitely feels like they're setting Godzilla up as the opening villain. Kong is what will defend humanity or whatever the fuck.
Even though Godzilla did the first 2 movies.
Yeah, and that's to me, yeah. I definitely feel like they're doing the big G dirty on it. Yeah, this is a hack job is what this is.
But that's exactly what it is. People aren't foolish.
They're trying to psych us out. And then, I think, we'll get our big, here's Lex Luthor moment, here's the real villain.
Yeah.
This is who we need to fight against. Hopefully.
And then, you see Godzilla and Kong kind of looking at each other, and then they fist bump. And then they face the main villain going forward. Yeah, that's what they do. They're like, give each other the nod, fist bump. Yeah. Kong pounds his chest, Godzilla, screams in the air.
Just a big scream.
Yeah, and then they tag team whoever the villain's gonna be.
Did it seem like they shrank Godzilla to you? Because I feel like they shrank Godzilla. Because when he was wading into Washington, D.C., or whatever the fuck he waded into in King of Monsters, those boats were, as big as his waist.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they just built a bigger boat so they could go pick up Kong or what the fuck.
Maybe.
But I really feel because, if Godzilla can climb on your boat and, stand on your boat and fight on your boat, he's not the previously sized Godzilla that I knew and loved.
Unless the boat is absolutely ginormous.
Yeah.
Because, of course, as we know, Kong Skull Island took place in the early 70s, and some of the stuff I read said that by that time he should have grown at least 3 times his size. Well, and in Kong Skull Island, he was recorded as being 104 feet tall.
And even in Skull Island, they have a couple characters straight up say, Kong's a baby. Mm-hmm. He is not full grown.
John C. Reilly.
And I was expecting them to up Kong to be able to stand against Godzilla. I still have a hard time believing that he is as big as Godzilla right now. I think they shrunk Godzilla down, even if it's just a little bit. And I know Godzilla's height fluctuates between movies. I'm used to it.
So you think
but this doesn't feel like a fair fight.
You think it was more like, we're gonna try and sort of trick the audience into thinking Godzilla is sort of the same height?
Yeah.
That way Kong would seem, even though he's grown a massive amount, Kong would still seem about the right amount of size for Godzilla.
Yeah, I get the feeling Godzilla had a couple feet shaved off, and Kong probably had someone like double clicked on his layer in Photoshop and they expanded him and he got a little bit bigger so that he was even with shrunken Godzilla. But yeah, I'm a little skeptical that we're seeing true height Big G.
Because in King of the Monsters, they either recorded him as being either like 393 feet tall, something like that. It's almost 400 feet tall. So, and if Kong basically grew 3 times his size, then that would also make Kong over 300 feet tall.
Sure.
So then Godzilla would at least be about 50 to 100 feet taller still than King Kong.
And to be fair, like, Godzilla typically does not stand up straight.
Yeah, he's usually hunched over.
And I get it. But again, if you're going to put a 400-foot tall giant lizard on a boat, you got to have one hell of a boat.
You have to have, exactly.
Like,
that's true, because it's him like jumping up and he starts crawling on the boat. He's on top of the boat, and then that's when Kong basically,
and they're both standing on it.
Yeah, they're both on the boat.
400, in theory, 2 400-foot tall animals on a boat fighting, and the boat's just like, yeah, I got it. It's fine.
It's like we thought this would happen, so we reinforced the boat, with like what the thousands of tons of titanium alloy.
That boat,
just in case we have 2 kaijus.
That boat needs to look like the iceberg that hit the Titanic under the water, where it's just like massive, just to support like the little bit up top.
It's absolutely huge underneath the water.
So I like Skarsgård being in it, just because I like him as an actor in general.
I like him too.
That was once the only thing I said to Lace about the trailers. I was like, "Oh, hey, your Skarsgård's in it," and she was like, "Oh, maybe he won't die in this one." And I was like,
I don't think he will.
I don't think he will either.
No. He's a bigger star now. He won an Emmy.
I was glad to see that 11 and her dad are back again, and at least 11 seems to be a fairly critical player.
I believe she is.
So I think that's cool, and I like that she's on, of course, the side of Godzilla.
That kind of annoying kid from Deadpool 2, isn't it?
Yeah, that was when Lace saw the trailer for the first time. I was like, oh, hey, that's Rusty from Deadpool 2. And she was just like, eh. But yeah, overall, I was pretty psyched for it. The only other thing that, like, pissed me off was at the end when Godzilla, like, blasted Godzilla, or when Godzilla blasted Kong, and Kong catches it with his whatever the fuck he's got. Which I'm fine with. Okay, I'll believe that an ape can use a tool in a fight. That's things monkeys do. Fine. But then, like, he moves the thing above his head, and the beam is still, like, locked onto it somehow, and Godzilla doesn't change trajectory. Yeah, or do any. He doesn't stop. He's just like, I'll just keep shooting at it, I guess.
I won't blast you. I'll blast whatever you're holding in your hand.
And I don't understand. Like, that to me is like, he's not that stupid. Like, I get it. He's a giant lizard, but, like, he's also a proven fighter. Godzilla's got skills.
There's, on one of the pops, there's also kind of a spoiler.
Oh, yeah?
I don't know if you saw the pops.
I saw the pops, but I didn't, like, detail look at him or anything, because I didn't want spoilers.
One of the Kong pops, he's holding something it's not like a spoiler.
I mean, is it the thing he's got in the thing?
I believe so.
The, like, axe-looking whatever the fuck?
That's just it. It may look like an axe, but it's not an axe.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
interesting.
It's a spoiler. It's not a spoiler.
Well, don't tell me.
They're fighting.
Don't tell me.
They're fighting.
That's fine. Don't tell me.
So I don't want to tell you, but I
don't want to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyways.
No, I'm not going to tell you, but it might have something to do. I know.
It might have something to do with the beam.
Yeah,
there might be an explanation. Is what you're saying?
I'm not trying to give excuses as to why like the beam only follows like whatever Kong's holding in his hand, and then he ends up bashing Godzilla right in the head with it. But there could be a certain reason as to why like the beam is following whatever he's has in his hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's
and ultimately, that's what I want is a good reason for if shit's going down, that's fine, but there needs to be an explanation for the shit. You just can't throw crap at me. Yeah. That's what makes a bad kaiju movie is when they're just like, I don't know, just bad decisions happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm cool with Kong's got an edge, or he found a piece of technology, or like there's something happening that gives him an edge. Like, that's fine. Then it's just a matter of how did he get it and does it make sense within the story, and that's something we'll have to watch the movie to see. But yeah, as I said, I'm pretty excited for it. Otherwise, like...
Extremely excited for it.
I'm a little nervous because I loved King of Monsters so much that this is going to blow up in my face.
That kind of gets me too, kind of going back to King of the Monsters. Like...
Again, like, King of Monsters was such a, like, 10 out of 10 for me. I'm really nervous going into this. I'm like...
I saw that in both Dolby Digital and IMAX.
I'm like, I just feel like this is going to be... I just don't want it to be bad.
Yeah, comparison-wise. I don't know. All I'm hoping is the story's good, and I'm just hoping that out of all... There are still monsters out there, so I'm hoping that we don't just see Godzilla versus Kong, and then they have to team up against something else. I don't know. Unless something else is killing all the other monsters, and that's why Godzilla's going nuts. Oh, shit.
That could be.
Light bulb? Holy shit, I just thought of that.
Well, because that's part of why I've been leaning towards, like, maybe Mecha Ghidorah. Because I was like, well, what if they brought Ghidorah back, but he's, like, mostly machine, but now they've figured out how to, like, hack the kaiju because of it. And maybe they're, like, using Mecha Ghidorah's systems to aim, or even if not aim, at least, like, influence Godzilla's actions. And so he seems like he's more of a threat to the world, and then somebody, I guess Monarch probably, is like, yo, the only thing we got, I don't know, I guess it's Kong, let's go get the giant monkey, and then the rest of the movie plays out.
It's possible, so it's possible that they might have found a way through, I don't know if it was through Ghidorah's DNA, because of the severed head they collected, or what, but I know I watched the video the other day, and they were talking about, like, it's possible Godzilla could be mind-controlled somehow.
Sure.
And it's possible that, like, the bad guys, especially Homeboy, what's his name? Well, his real name's Charles Dance, but I can't remember his name in King of the Monsters.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but you know who I'm talking about.
I don't remember any of the characters' names, because none of them were, like, people to me, other than Serizawa.
It's just, Serizawa, plus he was the coolest.
Yeah, everybody's just like, upset dad, angry mom, 11 from Stranger Things. Like, that's all.
Yeah, the bad guy.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name.
He was the bad guy.
Yeah, he's the bad guy in almost everything.
He's the dude from Game of Thrones is how I know of him. Like,
yes,
yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's a possibility that, like, somehow he was able to, collect Godzilla's DNA and somehow replicate the orca and mind control Godzilla somehow.
I can believe that.
It's possible that happens. There's a lot of possibilities.
Because that's like I said, a lot of people seem to be leaning towards Mechagodzilla showing up, and, like, on the one hand, I'm excited for that because we've never seen a Western interpretation of what Mechagodzilla means. And I think most of the, like... I honestly think Mechagodzilla most of the time looks really stupid. He looks worse than a dude in a suit somehow, which is terrible. And I always feel bad for thinking that. But
they have the opportunity to make him look really cool.
Yeah, like
I hope they do.
I'm imagining, like... Oh, can you imagine, like, one of the suits from, like, Pacific Rim meets, like, Iron Man meets, like, a Godzilla design. Like, that sounds great to me.
Sounds mad wicked.
So I'm on the one hand, if you're going to throw in Mecha G, I'm excited for it. But then on the other hand, in the second era of Godzilla films, because there's vaguely two eras, the Showa era, if I remember correctly, which launched it and ran for like a dozen movies, and then the Heisei era, which is like everything that came after. And if I remember right, in the Heisei era, Mechagodzilla, like, the armor was built onto the skeleton of the Godzilla that died in the first Godzilla movie. And so they're like, Mechagodzilla, you need to fight Godzilla. And then, like, halfway through the fight, Mechagodzilla, like, starts to, like, awaken. Like, the memories in his DNA are like, I can't kill this creature. It's me! And, like, he fights Godzilla to a stalemate or whatever, and then Godzilla limps off. And I think that's a really cool idea, and it adds a new dimension to Mechagodzilla. And obviously we don't have a Godzilla corpse running around in the Monsterverse right now, unless they decide to pull one out of their ass and be like, I don't know, it's a Godzilla that died a bajillion million years ago. Whatever, we found it, and we put Iron Man in it. There
was a tease in the trailer that did say, it turns out this war's been going on, like, for millions of years.
That's true. And, the way the trailer is set up, they do sell it. They sell it as Godzilla versus Kong, but it could be, like, a war between, like, the reptile god versus like the mammal god or some shit like
Hanuman. That's what the ape god is.
Okay, I was like, whoa, what?
Because I
just
remember,
cast a spell.
Because I remember M'Baku in Black Panther, after he accepts it, he says, "Glory to Hanuman."
Glory be to Hanuman.
And Hanuman is the ape god.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So
that could be. This could be. They could be alluding to the greater struggle of lizard versus mammal or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like,
it definitely feels like they almost have to come up with some sort of bigger structure in order for the story to like be more deep and enveloped, which is a good reasoning as to why, like, you know, this has been going on for millions of years, you know. So it's possible they could have, you know, ape versus reptile,
sure,
like mammal versus reptile, and it's actually been going on for a long time.
It's the curse of a movie where every sequel has to be bigger than the movie before it.
Yeah. And
the movie before this just happened to have like 4 kaiju going to war for the fate of the planet, and one of them's an alien, by the way. I mean,
that's the thing, you know, and we're extremely happy that like King of the Monsters absolutely fucking triumphs over the first Godzilla movie that has come out. You know, it's so much bigger, and the fact that they show Godzilla at the very beginning of the movie. Hell, we get introduced to Mothra 5 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
To whereas the first Godzilla movie, we don't even see Godzilla until like 45 minutes into the movie, and that's only for like 10 minutes.
Because after the trailer came out, like, I've been so excited for Godzilla stuff. Like, part of me wants to do a like loving breakdown of King of Monsters, where it's like, this is why it works so well. This is the stuff that worked, and then also do a retrospective on 2014 and be like, this is why this failed. And like one of my coworkers actually really likes 2014 because he likes the way it's structured, and I'm just like that, and that's fine, but like I don't think that sells to the audience that you're selling a kaiju movie to. Like, when you grow up watching dudes in suits wrestling for like an hour, you're fine with that level of like competency. I'm showing up because I want a giant monster fight, and when you spend like 45 minutes out of an hour plus movie building to that fight, it either better be an amazing fight or it better be an amazing looking creature. And then what do we got Godzilla. I knew it was Godzilla. Guess what? The movie's called Godzilla. You done fucked up. How, like...
Exactly. This
isn't a plot twist.
Keeping away the visualization of Godzilla away from us when the movie is called Godzilla, and you're trying to keep it a mystery. You're trying to keep the appearance of a 400-foot monster a mystery.
And it's not even like they really changed his design, like with the the 1998 Godzilla, because that was like that was a radical redesign for Godzilla. Like, I could understand, let's build this towards the end, let's hide it. Even I would argue that probably showed up sooner in that movie than Godzilla full body did in Godzilla 2014.
No, at the very beginning. He showed up at the very beginning. Unfortunately, they gave absolutely no explanation as to why he showed up. He just showed up.
Yeah.
You know, they were like, oh, we need to find out why this monster's showing. No. He just showed up, and then he was just walking around the city. And then in the middle of the movie, it turned into Jurassic Park.
Well, he was trying
Godzilla.
It was looking for a place to nest.
It happened to be Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it was just New York, man. It's the place to be. Yeah, I'm not sitting here saying Godzilla in 1998 was a well thought out, superbly executed movie.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just saying it got me to Godzilla a lot fucking faster than 2014 did.
Yeah.
And I would argue it's a lot more watchable than Godzilla 2014 is. Like, because Godzilla 2014 immediately invested me in Bryan Cranston, and I was just like, great. He's a solid actor. I like where his plot's going.
He's basically the only one that knew what was going on. You know,
he's going to be the dude who's like, I know exactly what's happening, and everybody in the world's going to be like, you're crazy, and then he'll be justified throughout the progress of the movie, and then he'll heal the rift between him and his son, and then you kill him at the beginning, and what do I get left? Cardboard son, who's just like, I guess I'm upset, maybe my dad died? Like,
Cardboard Quicksilver.
I don't know, like, I guess I'll just keep traveling the world and then Godzilla fight stuff, like...
So I wonder if secretly after Bryan Cranston died, he looks at the cardboard cutout Aaron Johnson, looks at the camera, he's like, you didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that's fair. Survived this
Because I
one.
didn't.
Survive this one, buddy.
Yeah. Because Bryan Cranston, he was so good, especially that part when, like, he's trying to let them know, I know what's going on, but yet you still won't tell me. He's so brilliant. And just fucking kill him off.
I almost I almost just want to do a fanfic rewrite of the script. I almost guarantee that if you had left Bryan Cranston in and had his character have to pair up with Aaron Johnson's character for the rest of the movie.
No. With what's his name? Sarazawa.
Sarazawa.
Bryan Cranston and Sarazawa together.
Look,
man.
I don't need to rebuild.
Ken Watanabe and Bryan Cranston.
I don't need to rebuild this entire movie.
I just gave you an idea, didn't I?
Jesus Christ.
That would have been brilliant.
That would have been super amazing.
It would have. It would have made the movie so much better. It would have.
But nobody would have fought anything.
Yeah.
Because they just would have been standing back the whole time being
let's
fight. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Look, we don't need to be involved in this. Calm down.
Well, and that's the thing, too. Even when, and I had a massive crowd reaction because the 2014 Godzilla, I actually watched on iDrive at Point Orlando in the huge IMAX theater. Yeah, it's Godzilla. Come on, man. You have to. But during the middle, as I was watching it, the very last fight scene, when he's like, let them fight. And they're about to, when Godzilla and the Motu are about to approach each other, you have that ridiculous scene where they're about to fight, and then I guess it's some sort of storage base facility that they're all looking out when they're about to fight. They all run run towards each other, Godzilla and the Motu. Now all of a sudden the doors on that little I don't know, fort or hovel they're in, they close those doors when they're about to fight, and then they go to another scene.
Yeah.
You don't even close the doors and they fight. No, you close the doors when they're about to fight, and they go to another scene. So that the crowd reaction in the theater was come on,
sure,
you just show me they're fighting. No,
sure.
You go to another scene with cardboard Aaron Johnson again, like that, and that too. They base so much time of the movie on this character that you honestly could care less about. We understand that you have to have a more human look at the story, through the eyes of this soldier. He's going through this with his family and stuff like that, But all we want to basically mostly do is see Godzilla fight, which is why King of the Monsters is so great. It's not just kaijus fighting. There's a reason why they're all fighting, and it's spectacular.
Well, and that's, I would argue, the reason that I just forgot his name. What is Johnson's first name?
Aaron.
Mm-hmm. The reason Aaron Johnson doesn't work is because he doesn't have any kind of connection or problem with Godzilla specifically.
Yeah.
See,
that would make sense with Bryan
Cranston. Yeah, and that's, even if all you did was handcuff Bryan Cranston to him, and Aaron Johnson spent the whole movie going, look, you're batshit crazy, you're ruining my life, my wife is pregnant, we're about to have a kid, I need you to accept that the past is dead and we need to look towards the future. I have a kid to get back to, you have a grandson coming into this world, shut the fuck up, and let's go have a happy family. And Bryan Cranston would be an anchor the whole time, being no, we gotta figure this out, there's a dangerous thing happening, we need to be the ones to stop it. And Johnson would be fighting him the whole time. And then your climax of the movie would be Cranston either lets go and sacrifices himself in order to accomplish something, which would then
meaningful.
Yeah, which would then inspire Johnson to move forward, or Johnson would have to make the decision to leave his father behind in order to save the family and either team up with Godzilla or defeat Godzilla or whatever the point is. There's not enough. If the whole point, your main emotional crux of the movie is, in theory, Cranston and Johnson's relationships to the kaiju. And if you get rid of Cranston, you're just left with Johnson's relationship, and he doesn't have one, because his whole thing is, I just want to get home back with my wife and kid, which is a fine motivation,
right.
But he doesn't do enough stuff to actively get home. That's right away, he's oh, honey, I guess I'm going to go on a train and bomb Godzilla or whatever, and then it gets attacked. And he's well, I guess I'm going to go fight Godzilla, I guess, his priority is never actually to get home, it's to fight the monster, and he doesn't have a good reason to fight the monster, I don't feel like. Again, it would even be one thing if, his wife went with him to Japan to get his dad.
Yeah.
And then his dad died there, and while in Japan they found out, oh shit, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
We need to get back home. And then, like, he's defending his wife the whole time from Godzilla or Muto or whatever happens to be going on. Again, you completely restructure the movie, but you would have a way more emotional character arc, way more depth out of them. And I'll fully admit that I don't think I've seen Johnson in a lot of stuff.
Not particularly.
But I don't think that he's a bad actor. I think his role was very dry and he didn't have much to do.
Yeah, I don't believe it was on him either, because he was just in Tenet. For a little bit, but he was still good in that. Yeah, he had a beard. I didn't recognize him until I saw him further. I was like, oh my god, it's Aaron Johnson.
I mean,
he's actually doing a pretty good job. People would say the same thing about, when you bring him up, but Robert Pattinson was in Tenet as well, and he did a really good job in that. Yeah, but that's an interesting point, because even when Bryan Cranston's character died, his character seemed so wooden that, like, he didn't even feel, like, sad or strained.
Yeah.
When his father died.
And I wouldn't even mind if they took it a route of, like, he was relieved, like, this burden is gone. Like, there would even be a part of me where I would be like, oh, that's fucked up, but, like, it's something, at least. But then his father's gone, but now he's saddled with the responsibility of defending the world from these monsters. But again, he wasn't the only person who knew. The kaiju very quickly start interfering with other parts of the world that he's not in. And again, it's not like Bryan Cranston was like, here's the one thing you need to defeat them. And you're the only person who has it.
Yeah.
And he's just dead.
And that's the thing, as the audience, we know that Bryan Cranston, he's not necessarily... we understand why he's a burden to his son.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we ourselves, we don't feel that he's a burden, because he's basically haunted the facts that, like, his wife, died from the same thing that he's trying to study and discover, and he's obsessed with it. And unfortunately, in that obsession, it's strained a relationship with him and his son. But all that time, that's the thing, he knew something was going on.
Which all sounds really interesting. Like, you pitched that to me, and I'm like, yeah. How do they resolve this?
Yeah.
And they don't?
And they don't. Exactly, and they don't.
Johnson just keeps on Johnsoning?
Yeah, it just leaves a huge gap, as well. And that gap is fortified by the death of his father. And you're like, okay, where do we go from here? Well, we don't go anywhere. We just go back to the movie.
Yeah, we just ping pong our way back where we came from.
Yeah,
until we get to, what is it, San Francisco?
Yeah.
L.A.
Yes, San Francisco. San Francisco, yes, because the beginning of King of Monsters, when their son died, they were in San Francisco.
And it doesn't surprise me that I'll fully admit King of Monsters does not have the most well developed or unique human characters in the Godzilla franchise, but I will say that they do enough character work that I want to see what happens enough to follow them through it.
They're likable enough.
Yeah. Again,
except the mom,
I think she's likable enough.
I think she's likable enough. She had her reasons, those reasons, like, being, this is what's good for the environment.
Look, I'm not going to lie. There are some days where if I had my finger over a button to wipe out humanity or not, that I would really be tempted to press it. Like,
who would?
I'm not saying that I think she should have done the things she did.
That's the thing.
But do I understand it? Sure.
Right.
Should she have been stopped? Absolutely. And was she? Yes. That's what I want a sympathetic villain to be.
Well, I see. When you're in a situation like that, you're stuck in a position to where, like, you want something to be done, and you feel like you're one of the only people that can do it, and what you're doing is what's right. So you pressing
Bryan Cranston.
Like Bryan Cranston, exactly. So you basically...
Except you're supposed to die at the end of the movie.
No, exactly. But when you have a button in front of you, and you feel like to yourself, man, humanity has to fucking die because they suck, and you press that button, that's basically what happens. You're living in the now, not realizing, like, well, what are the consequences when I press this button?
Sure.
No, you're realizing the fact that, like, okay,
Hello.
I press this button, I get what I want.
Hello.
But you're not realizing the fact that if I press this button, I have no control over what happens next. You know, and that's basically what happened in King of the Monsters. You know,
Yeah,
she's like, oh, fuck.
You just set off a Rube Goldberg machine that's going to end all life on the planet, and then you're like, oh, right. All life on the planet.
Yeah,
Whoops.
exactly. You fucking press the trigger to fucking let King Ghidorah out, Monster motherfucking Zero, not realizing, holy shit, this motherfucker's an alien, and he can control all the rest of the monsters. We can't do that anymore. Damn it.
And that's, even just looking between those two movies, like, you've got Angry Mom and then Angry Dad are basically Bryan Cranston and his son, where one of them's like, I need to do a thing, and the other one's like, no you don't, stop it, just calm down, everything will be fine. But, like, that's the thing, though, is the whole plot of King of Monsters builds out of and then spins back into that conflict and the resolution of that conflict. We explore their emotional drama through the kaiju fights.
Yes.
And then the movie ends with a moment of reconciliation between the two of them, and then B, Mom getting melted by Godzilla, because there's no way she died otherwise. Because he was melting everything for like blocks around him. She caught fire and melted.
She should have gotten melted while she was in the vehicle with the orca.
100%.
But hey, you know, we know.
Movie magic.
Making. Yeah.
And then the flip side of that with 2014 is you have that relationship happening within the first, 20 minutes of the movie?
Yes.
And then it's over, and we explore no other emotional relationship throughout the course of it, other than Johnson vaguely befriending a little boy in, Hawaii, and even then we hand that kid off to the authorities as soon as we can.
Exactly.
So it's not even like you could play the, oh, well, I'm the only person who can do anything, even if it's just for this kid. And then you gotta protect the kid for the rest of the movie. We don't even get that. You know, oh, well, I'll give the kids the authorities, and I guess I'll go back home. And then they're like, you should be on a train. And he's like, all right. And we just keep rolling with, the whole movie plot felt like it was one big shrug the whole time.
Yeah.
Whereas, I wanted to call him Ryan Johnson. Auntie Johnson? Aaron Johnson. Jeez, I'll never remember AJ. They're like, AJ, you gotta go to Japan. And he's like, shrug.
Just think of Jason Aaron.
Well, I don't want to conflate Jason Aaron's writing with a bad Godzilla movie, though.
Yeah, but
Jason Aaron would probably write a really dope Godzilla movie.
He would. He'd write an awesome Godzilla movie.
Yeah, it's like, you gotta go to Japan, man. And he's like, shrug. And he's like, your dad died. And he's like, shrug. And it's like, you're in Hawaii. And he's like, shrug. And it's like, I guess you're on a train now. And he's like, that's fine. Shrug. And then you get to San Francisco, and he's like, for the first time in San Francisco, he seems to be the one guy who's like, no, I know you can't blow Godzilla up because it didn't work any of the other times. And then everybody else is like, calm down, weirdo. Like, in terms of, if the point of the movie was to make Johnson become his father by the end of the movie, I don't understand that point, because I would have just watched Bryan Cranston chew up the screen the entire movie.
I wouldn't mind that.
Kill his son instead. And now he has to, he has to be the one who's like, you killed my son, I'll raise my grandkid. And then Elizabeth Olsen's like, nah, I don't, you're crazy.
At least I would
even your son didn't like you.
Yeah. At least I would find that more believable from Bryan Cranston.
I would just find it more fun.
Yeah, I think so.
Don't get me wrong, I really feel like 2014 tried to be the cerebral Godzilla film. We're going to make this one appeal to art auteurs the world over. We got Bryan Cranston. We have these beautiful lead-ups of suspense to the eventual reveal of Godzilla. Even when you think Godzilla's about to fight, no, we take it away.
Here's his foot.
We get it right at the end, right at the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that,
we're gonna make it as dark as possible.
Yeah, so you can't even see him when he does fight.
Yeah, exactly.
That pissed me off. But the flip side of that is kaiju movie were fun. Don't get me wrong, their origin lies in horror movies, and I understand that. But I think so much of the appeal of what kaiju became is in the fun of, this is a little bit stupid, and we know it is, and we're okay with that. We want to watch monsters fight, and buildings get blown up, and the world to be on the line, and we want a giant lizard to save us, whether that's Gamera or Godzilla, I don't care. But it's supposed to be fun. And
yes.
You throw in your pathos along the way, and then we end with a giant monster fight. But yeah, I just too much of one, not enough of the other. And that's I think King of Monsters balances it all well. We have just enough pathos to be like, yo, we're killing Earth, maybe we shouldn't do that. And then the rest of the movie is like giant monster fight. And beautiful, like the musical cues in King of Monsters are still like one of my favorite things. Like when the Big G's theme comes on, I get hyped every time. When Mothra's theme comes on, I get hyped every time.
Mothra's theme, holy crap.
I love it.
Yeah. That was great. And that was epic.
That's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for in Godzilla vs. Kong, and I don't know if I'm going to get that. Because I think we have a different director with this one.
Yeah.
And I'm a little nervous.
Adam Wingard.
Yeah. I don't believe I'm familiar with him. Because one of my coworkers was saying that he's like a horror director. And I was like, well, that's an interesting pick, but...
He directed this movie called You're Next. I think it's You're Next. Which it was kind of horror movie, but it was like horror comedy in a way. But it's actually hilarious. Yes, it's actually really good. Yes.
Well, it gives me some hope. At least he knows how to have fun.
He also
a little Gremlins-y. Scary but funny.
Yeah, basically like that. Not having to do with monsters or anything, but like it's straight up an axe horror movie. But yes. It is. There's a lot of funny parts to it. I think I have to look it up. I think he might have directed the Netflix Death Note movie.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I believe so.
I haven't seen it. I've never heard anything good about it.
It's not very good. I'm sorry. Real quick, Michael Dougherty was a horror movie director before he did King of the Monsters. And look how that turned out.
That's fair. And that was great.
Yeah, and that was great.
He
did Krampus.
I don't know why you don't just bring back him to do Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of strange too. That they bring him back, considering as you can see, on watching King of the Monsters, he's a massive Godzilla fan, and he said it himself. He grew up watching Godzilla. I
don't know if he just didn't want to do another one, or like if he just didn't want to fuck with Kong at all. Because I could feel that. Like, I don't think this fight needs to happen personally. I'm really afraid.
Of course it is.
Yeah. I'm just afraid that the legendary monster movieverse is going to become like the Alien movies, where people are like, just stop at Aliens, don't watch anything else, you're fine. Those are the two good ones. And I'm like, Kong Skull Island, woo!
I get it.
And King of Monsters, great. I'll watch both of those all day long.
Yeah. Godzilla vs. Kong live up to King of the Monsters? Who knows? As we've seen in the trailers. Yeah, okay. Now thinking about it, like, I can see us not as hyped.
Well,
for watching... Okay, we watched the trailers. The first time we watched King of the Monsters trailers, we were so geeked.
Yeah.
This time, we're feeling it.
Yeah,
but, like,
I'm
we're
geeked,
not, like...
But I'm not, like...
Our minds aren't blown.
Yeah. This just occurred to me, like... If I'm looking at King of Monsters and I'm going, this is Winter Soldier, then I'm not upset if Godzilla vs. Kong
is Civil War.
Yeah, is Civil War. Or one of the other comparable films. Like, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Again, I don't want this to be bad. I don't want this to be like what's a movie that's had a really shitty sequel? I don't want this to be Pacific Rim to Pacific Rim 2. And I don't even think Pacific Rim 2's terrible. It's just not fun. It's so,
no, it's not.
It's too big. It has too many characters. All of them could have been interesting, but none actually get enough screen time to be interesting. All the characters you liked from the last movie practically aren't in it, except for the two nerd scientists, who I wanted to get less screen time anyways, but they got more.
And that's the thing. The appealing characters that were in the first Pacific Rim, you either don't bring them back, or when you do bring them back, what's her name?
Yeah.
The Japanese girl.
She barely got in it.
She barely got in it. Not only that, but she fucking died.
And she was like a co-lead character in the first movie.
She was. She was co-lead character of the first movie, and she died. She died not even halfway through the second one, and that was ridiculous. And you saw it coming, like when the helicopter was falling. And I thought, because I think we saw it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, don't tell me they're gonna kill her off. Yeah, they killed her off.
Well, it sounds like there's no way they're gonna kill her. Like, they're gonna do, like, a superhero thing, they'll catch her, or she'll teleport, or, like, whatever, like, I don't care what, they ain't gonna kill her. And then they killed her, and, like, on the one hand,
it's like, how do you
that's shocking, but on the other hand, I don't like any of these cast members.
I know, you don't like the rest of them. Only her. That's why I only liked her.
I wanted you back.
Who they reintroduced, who they put in the second one again, I only liked her.
Yeah. And,
like, along with Charlie Hunnam, like, they were, like, what? The baddest, like, Jaeger duo ever in existence. But yet, in the second one, you don't put her in a Jaeger.
Yep.
You put her in a freaking helicopter. She's one of the ones that, not only did she, like, fight these kaijus, but she basically, like, saved humanity in the first one, and you put her in a little side role in this one, and then you kill her off.
Yeah.
It's just not...
It's lame.
It's not... Yeah, it is. It's lame. It's not good writing. And you put a bunch of these youngins in there that, you know, as much as we like John Boyega, like... I don't know.
Look, the trick...
Let's put all these young whippersnappers in there.
The problem I have is I don't feel like the movie focused enough on John Boyega's character to sell me on him. Because I think, again, it's a thing where the setup's interesting. He's the son of Idris Elba. He's got this legacy to live up to. Like, his father helped design this thing that is saving the world. Like, I get it. And he, like, crumbles under the pressure. So he goes to become a whatever the fuck he is at the beginning of the movie. That's fine. And then he's got the call to action. You have to save the world again. Can you live up to your father's legacy? And at first he says he can't, and then he has to grow throughout the movie. Like, that all sounds great. But none of it is presented enough to actually make me feel, like, depth for the character, or that he completes an arc or a journey, because he's paired with Scrapper Girl, who's got the, like, I'm the scrappy kid who wants to save the world but never got an opportunity to, which also isn't a bad pitch. But you don't do anything to develop her character, I don't feel like. And then you pair them with, like, 6 other people, some of whom are like, I don't like you guys, or I like you, but I don't like you. And then it felt like a pitch for Pacific Rim, the Netflix animated series.
Yeah, basically.
And somebody was like, no, 12 episodes is too many, just make a movie out of it. And then they just did that.
It's almost the same character type that we got introduced into the first one with, what's his name? The guy's son that, like, you know...
Oh, the Australian duo?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, it was almost the same character pitch with him. Like, I don't get along with you. We're gonna fight. And at the end, it's like, okay, we get along. We have to save the world.
We're both good at fighting.
Yeah.
We'll fight together
exactly.
now.
And what you were saying is, you know, John Boyega's character is Idris Elba's son, and he doesn't want to do this. He doesn't think he wants to do this. So, like, throughout the movie, why didn't you make... What's her name, the Japanese woman, like, which is basically practically Idris Elba's daughter.
Sure.
You know, why didn't you make her some sort of, like, mentor to him throughout the movie?
Well, and that was one of the weird things when they introduce, because they spent so much of the first movie highlighting the fact that she is his adopted daughter, basically, and she has so much love and respect for him that she wants to do this thing that even he is like, you shouldn't do this.
Yes.
It's going to kill you someday. I don't want that to happen. And then, oh, by the way, secretly off on the side, his actual son is, I don't know what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah,
who gives a shit? Like,
exactly.
It definitely felt like...
It's not like the movie was like 10 years later and like his son was a kid. No, this was only like a couple of years apart.
It definitely felt like introducing him as Idris Elba's son was either like a producer move or a writer thing where like they just had to cram an idea in there and like, I don't know, we could make him his son. Like, it doesn't, again, it didn't feel thought out. The character didn't feel fleshed out. And even like... And I mean, to be fair, I don't know how you top an Idris Elba speech because he just sounds amazing and he's so charismatic.
So fucking good.
But that's like when John Boyega gives the like, we're gonna do this speech in the movie. Like it works. Like for that moment, I'm pumped, and for all the rest of the movie, I'm just like, I don't understand why I should care about like any of you. Like,
flashy new toys, flashy new weapons,
and then the rest of the movie is Charlie Day, like.
I can
overacting every scene that he's in.
Now I have mind control because what happened to me from the first one.
And I even like the idea of him getting like possessed by the other dimension or whatever.
I can see that because of like you never know. That's the first time they ever did that. So there can be certain like circumstances that'll happen. You know, it's like what I went to back in not too long ago about Consequence. You know, he didn't know what was going to happen, but that's something he wanted to do. And then it turns out that like now all of a sudden, yeah, he has mind control inside him from the kaiju.
That's like I said. I think that's a cool idea. I think they just gave him too much of the movie to be in.
Yeah.
As that character.
And you're right. He was really overacting.
And that's like again, I think that's the fun of Charlie Day.
Yeah.
Especially in these like cartoonier Pacific Rim movies, like everything's overacting. Like we're going to stop the apocalypse. Like Jesus Christ, like calm down, man. Whoa, really going for it. But like that's fine. But yeah, I just like
plus Idris Elba's character, like he had gravitas.
Oh yeah.
In the role. Just a small role when, like, he tells Charlie Hunnam's character, like, no, motherfucker, you're not doing this shit, fuck you. And then Charlie Hunnam walks up to him, and he grabs him and turns around, and Idris Elba looks...
First thing he does is look at his hand.
He looks at his...
Doesn't even look at him.
His shoulder, doesn't even look at him. He's like, one, do not touch me again. Boom, right there, you're like, he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
So serious. Like, you believed him when he was like, one, do not touch me again. It's like, this dude is so intense. He's such a good actor. John Boyega, yes, he's a good actor too. There's a lot of point being is there's just a lot of like certain things like that in the first Pacific Rim that we didn't really get in the second one. The second one just felt like a forced sequel in a way.
Well, the trick with that though, because it's the trick with any legacy character, is if you have a character who's sitting there going, I have to live up to the legacy of this person and what they did and how they lived their life. The trick with that is accepting that you have to live your own life, find the things that either make you special or that you're good at, and focus on those things. Like, John Boyega's character arc shouldn't have been, you need to become your father, the next version.
Yeah.
It should have been, I need to save the world, whatever that means for how I do this. Like, he should have been the one coming up with, like, an interesting plan or a scheme or a strategy for, like, this is what we got to do in order to save the world. Because even then, like, by the time the movie gets to the end, the basic plot of the movie is still just beat up the kaiju. Like, there's no great strategy. There's no sudden technological development. There's no, like, John Boyega's been training these teenagers and they use their skills to team up to defeat this monster, which is a team up of kaiju. What? Like, no. They get the shit beat out of them. Most of them die. And then they just power their way through it, because actually secretly the Scrapper character's your lead character. Whoops! And then I have opposite problems with her character, where again, good setup, no charisma. Like, she kind of has an arc, but not, again, same thing, again, there's just not enough development into any one character in the way of the first movie was very clearly Charlie Hunnam, God, I feel bad, the woman, and both of them played off of Idris Elba's character. Like, I wouldn't even say Idris Elba was, like, the third character, but he was the wall both of them were bouncing off of the whole movie until they learned to defeat it together.
Yeah, because he didn't want her to do it. She wanted to do it. But then, like, when her and Charlie Hunnam or sparred and fought, then he's like, she's my partner. She is.
Yeah.
I want her. And he's like, no, you must be crazy. No. Like, no.
And whenever Hunnam wants to do something and he's excited to do something, that's when Elba shut him down. He's like, no, we're not doing that. That's crazy. Or that's stupid. You can't have her as a partner.
Yeah.
Like, he was the first obstacle they had to get past to get to fighting the boss, and I don't feel like any of the cast members in Pacific Rim 2 had that kind of story element to earn becoming a team and being interesting characters and then defeat the final boss through that.
Yeah. Plus, at the beginning, Charlie Hunnam's character was dealing with the tragedy. His brother, I only know his brother's name because it was a weird name. His brother Yancey.
Yeah.
That's how I remember it. I was
Nice.
like, Yancey.
I like that we don't remember anybody's names
exactly,
at all,
at
but you
all.
remember the one character who doesn't even appear.
Exactly.
I mean, he does. He does appear, I guess.
Because it's such a weird name. Plus, when he finally crashes in the snowy, plains, and Charlie Hunnam's character is walking. One of the reasons why is because he keeps saying Yancey.
And isn't
Yancey?
Well, like, and isn't
Yancey,
Hunnam English, if I remember correctly?
He's British.
So, like, he's got, like, the American accent thing going on, so he sounds like a little too American, kind of. So, like,
where he has to kind of like he has to say out his words a lot, like this.
The good old Benedict Cumberbatch effect.
Well, which he's used to because in Sons of Anarchy.
Oh yeah.
You know,
look, I'm not saying
Jax
it didn't
Teller.
work, but I wonder if you had put like, God forbid, let's say Nicolas Cage was in that role instead, and he's wandering around and be like, Yancey! Like, I don't know if it would stick nearly as much. Or it may have stuck worse. Like,
Take over the Kaiju's child! Yeah.
Can't remember anybody's name. God, I feel terrible.
We're drifting. Okay, don't get lost in the drift.
I know I've pitched to you before celebrities acting as celebrities as their role, and I kind of want to see somebody as Nicolas Cage, as Charlie Hunnam's character.
Andy Samberg does a good Nicolas Cage.
That's great. Oh my God.
That actually would be really funny. That's so
You want to come here and invade my planet? You a-hole!
My planet? You... Yeah, exactly. You Zeus's butthole! That's good.
God, that's so stupid.
We got off
Pacific Rim 3, Efrain. Starring Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Man.
Hell yeah.
That's when they're really desperate. Yes, we're desperate.
All right, I'm gonna stop this.
I was gonna say we went from Godzilla vs Kong to King of the Monsters to 202014 to 98.
Yeah, just a
good to Pacific Rim.
A good big old kaiju,
Big old
whatever,
kaiju
a kaiju fest.
Yeah, exactly.